Okay, here we are. It's the Vallejo Project podcast number 1. And we have Hugh from our events department, and we have
Sydney, Ajoa's assistant.
And this week's episode is We Were Here and Now We're Gone. All about our experience here at the Hub in downtown Vallejo, the wonderful times that we had here, and where we're moving forward now that we are moving off into the horizon and into new pastures. Well, okay, we have a lot to talk about the times that we've spent down here at the Hub. And even though, Sydney, you've been here just a short time, what have your experience been? The short week, but you've experienced a lot since you've been here. What have you experienced down here at the Hub while the Vallejo Project has been here?
You know, I was very fortunate to be at the MLK celebration, which is probably the only other event. I've attended a guitar lesson, and now I'm doing a podcast class, which is, wonderful. And so I've gotten the chance to tour all of the wonderful art that we have here and all of the beautiful exhibits and meet wonderful people. And I've been so blessed to experience what this space, the potential that this space has, and the ability that it has to bring people together in a sense of community. And I feel like that's part of Vallejo Project's underlying goals, is to bring people together and to unite us into making a difference, making a change. And when we have such a beautiful space to do that in the Hub and wherever it is that we go next, I've just been really fortunate to get to experience that while it's around. So yeah, what about you, Hugh? Tell me, since you've been here.
Well, the first experience that I had when I came in here was it reminded me of a lot of the art and event spaces that I used to work in and out of in San Francisco, especially a place called the Anand Salon back in the 90s, which was actually a loft on 9th and Folsom. So they used to throw Anand Salon parties every month, which was a conglomeration of art, music. It was an event, it was a happening. And in each individual room in this loft, a different artist would take over every month. And there would be digital art, there would be a comedian in one room, there would be video art, there would be singers or a band in the large room, there'd be things going on the roof. It was a lot of stuff that ended up turning into displays and art and music that was associated with Burning Man. But this was a great showcase for any sort of weird digital cyber-esque type of artwork, photography, video that was inspired at that stage of the game in the 90s. So this reminded me of an art collective type space where almost anything could happen. Yeah. And actually, it did. We had great art shows here. We had a lot of great musical events. It was a great place to incubate a lot of ideas. That a lot of the classes that we were talking about incubated here, which would be a piano class, the podcast class, art classes. We had art instruction here, painting. We had collage work classes for kids. And then the video games came in. We have some vintage 80s video games here, which everybody got a kick out of. And that was always a big hit during the events. And then we also had some amazing community-based events. Yeah. We had just recently over the holidays, we had not one, but two Santa events where Santa Claus was here. One event, It was have breakfast with Santa, where toys and breakfast was served, and kids came in and told Santa what they wanted for Christmas. And then the second event was a big toy giveaway that was in association with a program here in Vallejo. We had over 300 people come through with their kids. We had free pizza, free Italian ice, candy. We had Santa up here. We had our resident photographer, Yugi, taking pictures. Mm-hmm. And we had a whole room was filled with people. And in the back, people lined up, and kids got some incredible toys to take home.
Wow. Amazing.
We also had our big Shabanza events. Do you know what Shabanza is?
No clue.
Could you take a guess?
Shabanza? Okay, well, it sounds like a holiday.
Yes.
But let me think. Can I have a context clue?
Well, it was in December.
Okay.
And, there's Christmas, there's Hanukkah, there's Kwanzaa. So,
Okay, should I guess like what culture this was then? Was it a cultural holiday?
it was a cultural holiday.
Swedish. No.
It was Shabanza. Actually, we combined the Shabbat with Kwanzaa and came up with it.
Shavanza.
There
Is
you
that
go.
it?
And
That's
it was
right?
great. It was the Jewish Democrat Club, and of course Vallejo Project and the Oddfellows also sponsored it. And it was a great combination of bringing African American culture and Jewish culture together, along with just a basic celebration of the New Year.
Yeah.
It was our New Year's celebration here, and it was great. We had food, we had several bands, we had speakers talking about how the Jewish struggle over the centuries and the black struggle really have a lot in common.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting. So having programs like that at a space like the Hub gives the opportunity to really bring ideas together, different cultures together, different disciplines together. Now we have another member of our youth brigade here. Introduce yourself, sir.
Hello, I am Maud Posner, aka Polly Pocketknife. I am a DJ, visual artist, and multimedia artist, tattoo artist, songwriter, producer, graffiti artist.
Multi-talented.
I stay busy. Tattoo artist. Did I say that one? I
Yeah,
don't know.
you did.
I did.
was
Yeah.
gonna say.
Yeah.
I have to design a tattoo here.
So nice. Got to say it twice.
There you go. So how were you first introduced to the Vallejo Project?
The Vallejo Project is one of those places where it's like the room of requirement in Harry Potter. Like no one's looking for it, but it finds you. I feel like everyone who's in here kind of just like wound up in here and sees the community and feeds off of the energy and wants to give it back. So personally, I was DJing an event in Oakland. It was the Firehouse Art Collective. They were having a gallery show. They had a Portuguese food vendor, and I was playing my music. And there was a gentleman named John, who is the drummer of a band called Ajar. And he said, I'm playing a show in Vallejo. And, your DJing's fun. So if you want to play in between sets, that would be awesome. And I immediately hopped on that and came out here.
Nice, nice. And how was your experience when you came out here?
Well, honestly, I didn't even know Vallejo was a place. I live up in North Bay, up in Cotati, and I know E40 was from Vallejo, and I knew Mac Dre was from Vallejo, but I didn't know that it has this like really cool, eclectic kind of downtown culture that is building up. And since I came to the project, I found a new lens in which to put my artistic expression in a way that brings a community together. A lot of people who DJ or produce content are doing it for the means to gather an audience for narcissistic, purposes, just to have an audience, to be famous and to be popular. And I never really wanted to do that. I enjoyed playing with music and audio and the arts in different ways, and seeing how the Vallejo Project brings together the community and works towards documenting the community and creating a history and creating a conversation in the community, and knowing that I could contribute my artistic skills towards that, towards building the community, has given me a lens that I'm going to be looking through for the rest of my time.
Nice, nice. So where can people find you, besides your Vallejo Project, for all of your multi-talents?
XX Polly Pocketknife XX on Instagram, pollypocketknife.bandcamp.com, Polly Pocketknife on SoundCloud, and those should have all links that link to all my socials, and I'm free to contact.
Great. Now, as we're moving from the hub space into other spaces, we do have a space that we're looking at and going to move into here. We're going to still remain a footprint here in downtown Vallejo. But what kind of creative ideas might you have for continuing the type of events and opportunities that brought you to Vallejo Project? Where can we go from here?
I definitely think a good concept would be like monthly art shows, rotating the art on the walls, trying to reach out to local young artists, also providing it as a DIY concert venue space and advertising that to the youth so that these kids could get a group of friends together and make a band, write 4 or 5 songs and want to play it. And they show up with a bunch of other kids, and we could have that as a DIY venue space. And those spaces are the most important stepping stones for people who want to pursue the arts. You need to be able to have this active community space where you could meet other artists and maybe express and learn different ideas and techniques from them. And I think regardless of the space, as long as the right people are in it and pushing for that idea, it's going to happen.
That's brilliant. I really like that attitude, and that's a great stepping stone, as you say. It's a great space that can create that vibe and bring the creative people together where the barrier to enter is low.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Did you have any experience when you were younger at like DIY art spaces or like homemade galleries or?
We mainly did it. I grew up in the suburbs of New York, so we basically, our backyards were the incubator.
Of course, yeah.
You'd throw crazy parties back there. Your friend's band would show up.
Yeah.
And we actually took a cue from what we were experiencing at that time coming out of New York City, because our heroes in the art scene was Andy Warhol, Studio 54.
The Factory, yeah.
And then as we got older, we started getting more into the underground punk scene.
Of course.
So we took what we did.
Once across the pond from the UK, yeah.
So we took what we used to do in our backyards and our basements and then transposed that into bringing it down to New York City to the clubs, the underground clubs.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, and there was a venue in downtown Phoenix called the Trunk Space. And it was a very, very small little room. They had shirts from just like all these local bands that have left them there to sell, and cassettes and buttons. And you'd go in there any weekend and there would be 5 to 6 bands of just people from all around the greater Phoenix area, usually kids or like art students who would just go and play sets. And I've seen everything from like folk punk bands with upright basses to dudes with modular synths that look like arcades. And it was just such an eclectic melting pot of ideas that seeing these people reaching for their dreams is what drove me to feel comfortable in pursuing music and pursuing art in the ways that I do. So
that's brilliant.
You got to recreate that for the next generation.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Something like Gilman Street was here in Berkeley for years. That was mainly renowned as a punk rock venue, but still it was it was do-it-yourself. It was a collective that ran it for all those years. And of course, Green Day came out of that scene, as we all know. So yeah, definitely bringing back that, the hub, as we called it here, but that kind of a cultural, sort of a kit bashing.
Yeah, a melting pot.
And our final guest on the panel here is a young man who's been in and out of the hub for months and months and months. He's done all sorts of great things for Vallejo Project while he's been here. He's basically a staple and a core member of the group. Here he is, Sinbad.
Oh, Schneikedes, that's quite an introduction there. Hello. So I'm just kind of traveling around, and I kind of stopped in Vallejo here for a bit, and I kind of thought this would be a good place to put some roots down for a minute, because Vallejo's got great opportunities and a great diversity here, and that's kind of what I really love about here. And the scenery here is just beautiful. It's nice to walk around and just look at the mountains around you and just, relax, I think. But I think there's some parts of Vallejo that definitely need some improvements.
That's saying it nicely.
I've definitely heard gunshots when I'm just relaxing, and I think maybe that can be addressed in a more healthy manner. That doesn't necessarily involve the police. I have some biased views, I think, but that's okay. I'm more of a hippie, and I'm very adamant about my views with that, actually, because I think that there is a lot of corruption actually going on in Vallejo that needs to be addressed. And I think Vallejo Projects actually addresses it in a very healthy manner, in where we're trying to bring in the youth, because the youth is the future. And if we can teach the youth a different way than what we've been taught, then I think there could be some positive steps forward into the community, and to keep it a very multi-diverse, safe community.
That's really well said, because part of the mission here is reaching out to disaffected youth and giving them an alternative to getting themselves into trouble. So we hear less gunshots at night or even during the day. And part of Vallejo's project's core mission is servant leadership. It's being a leader within the community, but keeping an eye on serving the community as well. And part of what you're saying is exactly what the main core project is here at Vallejo, which is, a safe space to bring in those alternative ideas and look at ways to do things in the correct way, and saying, yeah, there is corruption, but let us set an example of how to do things wholesome, honestly, and with integrity.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that what Vallejo Projects is kind of trying to do is educate them in a manner that we haven't necessarily been educated in the past. I think even our education system in general, not just in Vallejo, but across America, is actually pretty corrupt. And we're being taught to work a 5 to 9 job, but we don't really get taught the skills to go out there and, be functionable for ourselves and be functional in our community. Like Vallejo Projects has some great opportunities here that if we have enough support behind and enough people who are willing to learn, like we have construction, I believe, carpentry.
Right.
We have podcast learning. We have computer skills. We have music. These are all avenues that you can start looking into to see what you like to express, because what life is expression. And with work, what that does is it actually dampens your expression usually. And the goal in life is to find a job that you love to do, they say. And what that really means is a job that you like to express yourself with, a job that you feel like you're contributing to the people around you, to yourself, and the community. And Vallejo Projects gives that opportunity to the youth, and they give themselves a different avenue and try to educate them on a more, I don't know how to say, just
A more basic level?
more basic level, back to our roots, how we used to.
More skill sets.
Yeah, more skill sets. You can learn electricity, you can learn how to build things, you can learn how to build things with your mind.
Right, it's a basic
A
thing.
whole bunch
It's-
of things.
It's like you go back 2 or 3 generations. Like my
Exactly.
grandfather's
They
generation.
used to know how to do so much.
They
and-
built. I mean, my grandfather and my
Built his
grandfather and my
house.
great grandfather built their houses.
Yeah, we don't know how to do that. We
Yeah.
straight up don't know how. I don't know how to do that. That's why I travel, is because I'm trying to learn these things and I'm trying to see what people do and what people don't do. And
Right.
Vallejo Projects gives that opportunity to the youth. And I think that something that needs to be addressed too, especially around Vallejo and just California, is the usage of drugs and the education behind drugs. Not educated in what drugs really are and what defines what a drug is and what they actually do to the body and to the central nerve system of a human. And I think that's really important that that is addressed, and Vallejo Project seems to be doing that too.
Well, we actually one thing that we hadn't mentioned is the wellness programs, and the wellness programs were being designed for general health, as far as what type of nutrients you need in your
Yeah,
body.
actually
what
eating
type of,
healthy.
Yeah, eating healthy.
how that affects
vitamins and
you.
minerals. I mean,
Exactly.
how it affects your mind.
Yeah.
Affects the way you think.
I definitely have some things to say on that, because like if you eat fast food, I'm gonna call out some names right now: KFC, McDonald's. I'm a slash at all of you guys. You guys are serving negative energy just about, and what that does is it subdues the mind and it subdues the body to doing things that necessarily it just isn't healthy for them, and you end up in 20 years eating that stuff for 20 years, and you don't know where you're going. You don't know what you're doing, and you feel unhealthy. You feel sick all the time, but that's all you're doing. And what it is you're not actually being filled up. I've been lucky enough to eat vegan food for a while, and there's a difference between a nutritional meal and just a meal to eat. And the difference is that you're full for hours. Whereas in a non-nutritional meal, like I said, McDonald's, KFC, I don't know what another one is here.
There's so many of them.
There's so many like fast food that all it does is it fills you up for like an hour or two. And even snacking, it's the same thing. It doesn't fill you up. You don't feel satisfied. You still want to eat more and more and more.
Well, you were here for the alkaline group that was here that was serving strictly alkaline food, and then the vegan group. So we
Yeah, I
actually
definitely helped promote that when that was
Yeah.
here, and I always push people to go there because that gave them an example of what it's like to actually be full for a while.
Right. So we did have actually two big food events here. One, as I said, based on alkaline foods, and one that was based on vegan foods. And there was also some herbalists here too. In fact, I got some herbal tea that's good for your eyes. There was also a couple of people who were talking about nutrition specifically, and herbal tinctures as well. So that was all been part of the wellness program here too.
Yeah.
So what do you think, wrapping it up, what do you think we need to do going forward now that we'll be leaving the hub space here in downtown Vallejo?
I think we need to focus on building the community and not necessarily a space. So what that means is building the people behind it, having a why, what we're really trying to do, and executing that, and not having necessarily a space, because back in the day, people didn't have churches, but people still gathered and they still worshiped. But they didn't need to have a building. You know, back in the day, we came together and we didn't have nothing, and we built something together. You know, I don't know if you see any movies, but Space, what is it, Blazing Saddles?
Ah.
They had a community. They built a fake town. But, you know, they didn't have anything. But what they did is they came together and they built something together. So I think it's more important to your foundation is the people. It's not the place. The place will always change, but the people, they will change. But if you educate them and you have them behind an idea and a purpose, they're going to be behind you with anything that you do.
That's great. I couldn't say it better, and that's a great way to wrap it up. So this has been our first podcast here on Vallejo Project. We're glad that you joined us, and we were able to share some of the ideas about what it's been like being here in downtown Vallejo since July of last year. We've hopefully we have contributed to the community in our own way here. I think we just felt a lot of excitement here. And as Sinbad was saying, it's not the space itself, but it's building the community. So please look us up on the internet, vallejoproject.org. That's vallejoproject.org. And keep track of all our doings. In fact, if you want to get involved, best way to do is go to that website and reach out to Vallejo Project, and you can get involved in our continuing effort to serve the community. This has been podcast number 1 of Vallejo Project. We're glad you joined us, and we wish you a good day.